Good evening. Thanks for being here. I'm Troy Charles, and here are your top stories. For the first time in 2 weeks, there is a new confirmed case of COVID-19 in Thunder Bay. The health unit announced the case this morning. The district's 93rd total case of the virus is a Thunder Bay area man in his 60s who is now self-isolating at home. It's now the only case considered active by the health unit. While 91 are considered recovered, the health unit last reported a confirmed case of COVID-19 on July 3rd. And Mayor Bill Morrow is applauding the Thunder Bay District Health Unit's move to make masks mandatory in indoor spaces here in the city. The move comes after a decision by Morrow to bring a motion to City Council that would have asked the health unit for such a measure. The mayor says he will still bring the motion to council, but it will only be there as a formality and won't be debated.
My motion was asking for her to make the decision, for her to define what her order would look like and to accommodate accessibility and disability issues. And so we checked. Her order does all of those things. And even though our numbers are good now, that's not a good enough reason not to do this locally, because there are other parts of the province that have low numbers like us, and they've done it. And so I think it's a sound decision. I think it's a very sound decision.
Morrow acknowledges enforcing the order may be difficult, and he says the city is approaching this in a manner similar to the approach used to enforce physical distancing.
It's the health unit who is the lead, just like it was with the physical distancing piece. So it's their lead. But on that part, we said, okay, well, we can be a partner in this. And bylaw was there to sort of support. And police who did not want part of this were also there sort of as a last third option. We haven't made a decision on whether we'll support enforcement on this. That's what we ended up sort of modeling when it came to the physical distancing piece. We'll see what comes of this. But under the legislation, the health unit has the role, the authority, and the responsibility for the enforcement.
Starting next Friday, that mask mandate will be put into effect in Thunder Bay. And today we spoke to city residents to gauge their feelings on the new order. Avery McCrae has more.
The mandatory mask requirement for enclosed public spaces goes into effect this Friday the 24th in the Thunder Bay District. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit felt the decision was necessary to help minimize the spread of COVID-19 as the region entered stage 3 of the province's reopening plan yesterday. Masks will be required in all indoor spaces, including restaurants, gyms, any retail outlets, and other public settings where contact between individuals is increased. While some disagree with the new rule, the majority of city residents are on board with the mask policy.
I feel like it's maybe not necessary, but I personally believe in masks. It doesn't harm anybody. Most people have reusable masks, and it doesn't hurt to just have one in your car and put it on. So I've been wearing a mask this whole time anyways, so I think it's a good thing.
I wasn't too thrilled about it.
I think it was a pretty necessary thing when you think about everything else that's going on in the world, especially in the U.S.
I'm totally for that, and for the main reason, if it saves one life, it's one life that would be saved by someone wearing a mask.
The health unit says there are some exemptions under the Act. Those with medical issues or impairments that make them unable to wear masks will be exempt and do not need proof of that exemption. The exemption is based on the community being honest, and while many feel the public will abide by the rule, some know there will be those who challenge the Act.
I think there will be a large majority who will follow the rules, but there will be those people who are a little bit more hesitant, a little more stuck in their ways, who are it's going to take them a little bit longer to come around to going to wearing those masks everywhere.
For the major part, they will. There's going to be a few people that are just going to refuse to wear the mask, but there's not really much, unless they put some kind of consequence to not following the rule.
I think in a place like Thunder Bay, it'll be pretty good, but there's always people that like to sort of reject things that are happening with the government. I truly believe it doesn't hurt to wear a mask, and it can do nothing but good to help spread less germs. So, but there's definitely people that are going to challenge the norms.
Avery McCrae, TBT News.
The Ontario government has announced that they will officially ban the controversial practice of birth alerts. On Tuesday, the government announced it will move forward to halt this process, which sees newborn children being taken away from their mothers. Birth alerts, also known as hospital alerts, are notifications sent by children's aides to societies to hospitals to flag newborns they believe may be at risk. Ending birth alerts was recommended by the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, as the program leads to infant apprehensions and disproportionately affects Indigenous women. Coralie Maguire-Surrett, the Executive Director of the Ontario Native Women Association, says these alerts have been in place cause more harm than good.
You know, at a time when, like as a mother, that, you know, when you give birth to a child, it's a time for celebration, it's a time for joy and connection, and that bonding place, that time that needs to take place is critical for the new development of a child, as well as for the mother to be able to bond and build that lifelong connection. And when you have a birth alert that comes in and disrupts that bonding, disrupts that connection piece, that's why you see a lot of the issues we're seeing now in our communities.
This announcement from the provincial government came 2 weeks after Manitoba officially ended their birth alerts on July 1st. Ontario's will be officially ended on October 15th. The City of Kenora has proposed a controversial loitering bylaw that many feel targets members of the city's Indigenous population and criminalizes poverty. It comes during the summer months where the city sees thousands of tourists, and during the COVID-19 pandemic, which has put limits on the amount of people that can be inside the city's only shelter. Jill Makashon reports.
Kenora, Ontario is a city surrounded by forests and lakes. Around every bend, there's beauty. But on many street corners, there's the ugliness of poverty. Citing increased public loitering and aggressive behavior, the city has proposed a public loitering bylaw with a $100 fine.
Right now, it's not illegal for somebody to be sleeping on a sidewalk.
In Kenora, where the economy is driven by cottagers and tourist traffic, this councillor says the city was left with little choice but to act.
We have to straighten this out, and doing nothing is not an option. We can't leave it like it is.
But many feel the bylaw unfairly targets the poorest in this community.
They literally have no home, and we're going to punish them because of it.
It's led to protests and pushback, with many people from the homeless population leading the charge.
Can't sit on the benches in town, can't cool off by the lake.
A study published last year counted just over 220 homeless people in the Kenora area, a city with a large Indigenous population.
Well, we're being targeted, yes. There's no excuse for that.
Many here say there are few options for safe, affordable accommodations. With proposed shelter projects in Kenora still months from completion, more are turning to the streets.
Since I first came here, I've been looking for safe, suitable housing, and it's nearly impossible.
With many people in the homeless community also dealing with disabilities, mental illness, and addiction, the draft bylaw is getting attention from legal advocates who say it could go against Canada's Human Rights Code.
The bylaw could be enforced in a way that adversely affects these populations and actually could be, at the end of the day, discriminatory.
This issue that has split the community has also split City Council, with 3 members in favor, 3 opposed. The mayor said he is still reviewing information before the final vote next Tuesday. Jill Makashon, CTV News, Kenora.
Many events across the Northwest have been canceled as a result of the restrictions and organizations not wanting to put attendees at risk. But just north of Atikokan this past weekend, organizers of the Women's Bass Championship decided to make a go of their event with precautions in place. Adam Riley was there and files this report.
I just thought the women can do this too on their own, and they are.
For the last 3 years, Lisa Johnson has been bringing women out to Marmion Lake just off of Highway 622 for a day-long bass fishing tournament dedicated solely to them. Johnson says interest has grown over the years, with the numbers peaking last year at 15 teams, adding nobody has ever missed a weigh-in.
They come in with their 5 fish, yes. It might not be great weights, but they're doing it. And that's what I told them. I said, to me, catching fish is a bonus. I just want you all to go out, to learn how to do all this yourself, and come back in one piece, and your boat in one piece. And if you get fish, that's a bonus.
COVID-19 has led to the cancellation of many community events all across the Northwest this summer, including several high-profile fishing tournaments like the Kenora Bass International and the Dryden Walleye Masters. Even Johnson admits that for a time, the Women's Bass Championship here in Atikokan was touch and go.
I was debating, and then I thought, we don't get a large amount of teams, so if we stagger the launch, and when they come in, we can do this. And they did great, the girls.
Johnson says because of the simplicity of the tournament, they were able to add safety precautions like requiring masks at the weigh-in stations for when social distancing measures were harder to maintain. This year, sisters Debbie Colson and Kathy Damon were the top winners with a total weight of just over 17.1 pounds, beating their previous weight from 2019 of 16.4 pounds. Damon says in the lead up to the event, there is a lot of preparation, including pre-fishing to assess the lake.
Well, our game plan is first we pick which holes we want to go to. If we don't catch anything, we move right away to the next one. The ones that are the fighters are the little ones. The big ones,
they come in nice and easy, but the ones, we call them headbangers. Those are about 2 pounds each. So those are the ones that are fun to catch.
They jump.
Both Colson and Damon say they are already very close as sisters, but being able to spend time on the lake together, especially during these COVID-19 times, make the tournament and their win that much more special. Adam Riley, TBT News.
So nice to be joined by good friend Mike Mahorich. And Mike, big news dropping today on where the Toronto Blue Jays are going to play their home games.
Earlier in this week, it looked like it was going to be the Rogers Centre, but not anymore. We got the details after the break.